Okay, welcome again to ApoKrino Forge. So this is the everything use version of this app suite. There's also a maker suite and a portfolio suite. Um, and I've got two other versions in the pipeline, along with a couple of fun AI toys that come along with, and then a ton of learning resources that are on the way that are basically turning this into more and more of an educational app. So we're going to look at the sketchbook, and I'm going to show you a use case of how to use this to build a series of artworks. Okay, so I'm starting with my original series of artworks that used water as my subject, and it became pretty clear pretty early on that a series of my water studies were combining with some of the social things that I was thinking about. And why is that interesting? Well, to my mind, what I began to realize was that, actually I want to do that a different way. What I was thinking about became, I'm flattening this so it looks more like water. Okay. What I began to think about was that water was in fact the connection. Now, I've always been obsessed with sitting at the bottom of a swimming pool. And I grew up next to Lake Michigan, so water's always been a huge, component to my just sense of the world. Growing up on Lake Michigan, when you walk through the city, you're always aware of where's the lake. And growing up in the Midwest in the United States, there are tons of little lakes. So attention to water. So I'm making a note here to write about now. This has a really cool feature that I just put this checkbox, and I'm going to switch back to the viewer mode. I'm going to run the OCR. And what that's going to do is it's going to capture the text, which is fairly standard. But what is not standard is that now in the notes, if I look at actions, no, it doesn't want to do that right now. The iPad that I'm using, I absolutely love the interaction level of it. I'll check that back in a minute. It might be happier. But the drawing with the Apple Pencil is fantastic, but I'm using an iPad mini and it is not up to date. And so for some reason, the way that the Apple folks built these devices, the memory pressure works really well for certain stuff, but not so great at all the stuff at the same time. So I've built these app suites and some fun AI toys, but there are some memory pressure issues, and just don't want to be transparent from the beginning about that. Everything else works. Just, there's stuff to sort out, and building a series of app suites and doing the creative stuff and teaching at the same time, it takes a few minutes. Anyway, so attention to water, writing about memories about water from childhood, and then I began to see social dimension of water. And I've always been fascinated with how people interact around water. And the beach, growing up, Chicago beaches are not like, Mediterranean beaches, because you really don't use them all year round the same way that folks in Spain or Brazil use the beach. But this awareness of water and where people would gather, and the way that water flows through the physical environment has always been a preoccupation for me. So my uncle had a swimming pool, and I was a competitive swimmer for a long time. And so these are things that water has been the center of my social hub for most of my life. And there's a danger to water, there's a beauty to water, and there's also this thing of my main question all my life. And I'll have to get rid of those sync warnings because they're a pain in the butt. They were very, very useful during debugging, but now it's just annoying. Water in motion, on, still, 2D surface. Now, I'm not a math guy, or at least, I like math. Math's not always my friend. So the question became, how do I nail this down? And I started with photos. And those photos combined with my camping trip. And I was a Boy Scout, and I still go camping whenever I can with my scouting friends. And so, this became we're sitting in a canoe, and we're now in our, 30s and 40s. And this was 2005. And I write poetry, and I paint, and I draw, and I was an art teacher, and I was also sort of a design and technology teacher. So I was really using all of these different tools to analyze this obsession with water. I couldn't let it go. I mean, it was this totally 10-year-old obsessional level of engagement. This is not like I wasn't doing a Picasso deep inquiry here. I was obsessed on a really professional and personal, let's call that animal level fascination with water. And I used these tools. I was using writing, sketching, line, oil paints, so I was using photos, but I was also using poetry. Not sure if this will be useful, but it can be. Okay, so now, basically, we're looking at, here's my beginning of the use case scenario. And now this is sort of, the way this works is I have an editor mode that works sort of like a GIMP or a Photoshop. And then I have the Kindle mode, which allows you to go through and do things and fun things like running the OCR program. Now, what that does is that allows us to use another set of tools, which is we can go back into the main suite and enter the journal, which is AI capable. Right now I've got it turned on because I'm trying to get you to see the different functions. But now here we are talking about you have a sophisticated somatic connection to your work. You aren't just seeing lines or patterns, you're feeling suspended breath and prickling skin. This internal feedback loop is a powerful tool for gauging the success of a composition's tension. All right, so I'm getting actual feedback from my AI component that's watching when I ask it to what I'm doing and using the art vocabulary. Now I'm about to update this to take it to another level, but just so you can see, I can write notes and reflections, and as I showed you or in a previous video, we can make a checkbox and make action items that get recorded. So I'll transcribe that. I'll clear the screen because this is a good start. I can choose where to put it. I'm just going to leave it with notes and reflections. But this way, it just goes ahead and adds that to my notes. And you can see that my notes, I have date and time stamps. And if you decide that you want to keep track of the geography, do you do your best work at the coffee shop, or do you do your best work sitting in the car waiting to pick up somebody? These are often very useful things. It seems silly at first, but noticing the patterns of your most effective work moments can be really important when you're stuck or struggling with something truly challenging. Sometimes just knowing that, hey, when I get stuck, I like to go to the coffee shop. And when I sit at the back of the bus or on the train, I tend to make more progress. So when you get stuck, you can go to those locations. Knowing your creative process is often the key to doing things that feel like they're impossible, but in fact they're not. You just got to find the right mental space in which to address the problem. Okay, so again, there's the sketchbook. So we were at 1. Here's the daily sketchbook. I was working in the water and community because I'm starting that inquiry. And let's go to down here at the bottom. I have sample sketchbooks. Some of these are just for fun, like coloring books, Hokusai, learning about the work of Hokusai and his sketchbook habits. I'm building all these resources little by little. A lot of it's already built and I just need to propagate it. So there's different walkthroughs, different information, different interfaces, and you know, we checked out the journal. Here's a different sketchbook. This is the daily sketchbook function. Daily sketchbook puts you into the daily capture, which is really useful for the phone capture functions. Meme cards, these are your core atomic ideas that you work with that capture over time the images and the strategies that you use, and these can be then leveraged into mind maps, which basically capture the mental map that you're creating. Not the AI can help you, but you are the one creating your mental frameworks. And you can literally see, now this could also be an art portfolio. You could put an entire series of works that you can change the level of, so you can organize them in a sort of three-dimensional way. But what this allows you to do is have an infographic of the way you consider things, and these tools help you go from those atomic units in the meme card system to the mind map system. So you can make a collage, you can edit the canvas, all these different things. Narrative through a thumbnail editor. It's sort of like making a storyboard. It helps you add words. Adding words to your art can be really difficult, but between the journal mode and being able to set up your own criteria for the AI to examine your thinking, it can literally help you learn to think more effectively about your creative work. Whether it's visual art, designing products, whatever it is that you want to do, I'm consistently adding features to help you do this in a more mindful, more powerful way. Really trying to leverage human intelligence. And thank you so much for joining me on this journey as I put this product out into the world.